Welcome to another edition of our Thursday night's class. Torah says in this week's Parashat, Banim atem la'Hashem Elokechem. This week is Shabbat, Mevarchim, Chodesh ELUL. Parashat Re'eh. Sfarim HaKadoshim write, Re'eh is Rashi Tevot, Resh Ayin Hei, Re'eh, see, ELUL, Higia, ELUL came. That's why Shabbat Mevarchim normally comes out. Exactly. That's Parashat Re'eh. So in this week's Parashat, we learn about Banim atem la'Hashem Elokechem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you're my children. What does that mean? Let's go on a little journey and see if we could come out with something nice tonight. There's a very famous parable or tale, I'm not sure how you want to call it, that in one of the foreign countries years ago, there was a king, had a son, an only child, and he was getting older. He knew he's not going to live forever. And he wanted that there should be a situation that when he passes away, somebody should be able to take over. So naturally, every king wants his son to be the next guy in charge. But he saw that his son didn't have you have to have a knack for it, you have to know how to be a leader. He didn't have it. So he wanted to see what could be done to prepare, to give his son the knowledge and the preparation to be able to take over the kingdom. So he looked for a good life coach, somebody who knows a little bit about the ins and outs of leadership. He found the perfect candidate, and he hired him. He told him, "You're hired to be my son's right hand, and to be with him and to spend time with him and everything, like this, to elevate him to the point that when the day comes and he has to take over the melucha, he should be able to take over the melucha." So the guy came to the son, he met him, and he told him, your father hired me, we're going to spend some time together. I'll try and teach you what I know, we'll be friends, we'll see where it goes. So the kid was a little skeptical, and he said, what do you mean, my father's the king, he could teach me everything, what do I need you for? So he asked him, he said, I don't mean disrespect, I just want to know. Tell me what you're good at. What's your talent that makes you different than other people? Why did my father hire you? So the guy told him, I'm good at three things. I'm good at figuring out horses, what's a good horse, what's not a good horse. I'm good at diamonds, figuring out what's a real diamond, what's a fake diamond. And I'm good at people. I know how to read people. These are the three things I'm good at. How do you put those three in the same sentence? I don't know, but these are his three skills. He said, okay, you're good at these three things. At least I learned these three things from you. And they start traveling together, and on the way, he's trying to teach him tips. One day they go to a place where they sell horses, riding horses. That was like cars back then. And he tells the guy, okay, I want to buy a new horse. You say you know which is a good horse, which is not. Let me see, teach me. So the guy tells him, no problem, here's the way we're going to do it. You're going to look, you'll talk to all the guys who are selling their horses, and you'll pick which horse you think is good, and I'll tell you if it's good or not. He looks around, he finds one horse that looks like a good, strong, young horse, well taken care of. Owner has a good sales pitch. He says, wow, this is it. And he decides he's going with this horse. He goes to his advisor, tells him, I found the horse, what do you say, boss? He tells him, this horse is not good for you, it'll kill you. He said, what do you mean it'll kill you? He said, this is a very violent horse, and when you're going to ride him, he's going to throw you off and trample you to death. It's not going to work. So he tells him what? He said, I heard in Kabbalah there's something chokhmata patzuf. You can read on somebody's face what's going on with him. But chokhmata patzuf doesn't work by horses, it only works by people. How do you know on the horse? He didn't. He says, listen, we don't have to argue. Go to the salesman, tell him that you want to buy the horse, but you want to see him take the horse on a spin first. Just a test ride. And let's see what happens. Sure enough, the guy takes the horse on a test ride, he goes running around with the horse throws the owner off, tramples him to death. King's son's blown away. He says, listen, this guy, he's on target, he knows his stuff. All right. A few days later, they're somewhere else. They walk into some diamond place, and the king's son tells him, I want to buy myself a nice stone. Tells him the same thing. Pick the stone, and after you pick the stone, come to me, show me the stone, I'll tell you if it's real or not. Instant GIA. He picks a beautiful stone, and the salesman, of course, tells him it's legit and everything, and perfect. So he tells him, okay, I got to ask my advisor, but takes the stone, shows it to the guy. The guy tells him this is not a diamond at all, it's a piece of glass, they're fooling you, they're going to rip you off, don't buy it. He says, how do you know? He says, there's very easy ways to test diamonds. Do whatever you got to do to test it, see, and based on that, you'll know if I'm right or wrong. Sure enough, they apply a little pressure to the stone, and the stone pops. It's obviously not a diamond. And again, he's blown away. Tells the guy, listen, you're good. You know your stuff. My father picked the perfect man. One day, in the middle of their journey, he turns to the gentleman and says, I know that you said that you're good at another thing. How to read people and tell people who they are and what they are. Today, there are a lot of frauds that say they know how to do that. But they're all frauds. Nobody knows how to do that. Stipler, Ruach HaKodesh, he knew. Today, it's not like that today. So he tells him, I'll tell you what it means, frauds. A friend of mine once convinced me, a few years ago, we were in Israel, like Bohemond, to go in with him to some guy we called a Baba. You know, there's Alibaba, so in Israel there's a lot of them. Except Alibaba is a successful corporation. They're not so successful. He wants me to go into some Baba. I told him, sugar, I don't go to these people. It's a Yisud Oraita, Tamim Tiyeh, Hashem Elokecha, Cham Yaakov, Yagen wrote a whole sefer about it. Come, you'll see, the guy knows everything, he this, he that. I said, first of all, what do I need him to know? I know myself better. I know myself better than he knows me, so I'm going to be impressed that he knew something, big deal. Come anyway. So I went with him. We went into this guy, and he was wearing some sort of thing on his head, and like he doesn't see anything. He had candles lit in the room, and that almost looked like a funeral home. And the way it works there is you write your name on a paper, and they stick the paper on this thing, and he starts talking. So they put my name with a paper over there, and he was quiet for like a minute. After a minute, he says, I see in Shamayim that if you'll give me $50,000 now, it'll bring you big success. And I look at the guy who brought me in there, and I said, no. So he says, he knows his stuff. You might want to take it serious. So I told the guy, and I see in this world that if I'll see some big success, then in Shamayim I'll give you 50,000. You could imagine he didn't give me a blessing that day. And that was the end of that. So he tells this advisor, he says, you said you know how to read people. Tell me what you know about me. But he said, don't tell me you were with me now for a month. Of course you know more or less my behavior, my character. Tell me something that will prove that you really know something. So he says, I'm going to tell you something. You think that you're a son of a king, and that your father is your biological father. I'm telling you, your father is not your real father, you're an adopted kid. Your father loves you a lot, but he's your stepfather. He says, it can't be. What do you mean? I grew up there since I'm a baby. He says, yeah, they adopted you when you were 1 day old. Now he says, I'm going to find out if it's true or not. And he said, and you're putting yourself at great risk, because you know I'm finding out, I'm going to my parents. My parents won't lie to me. And if they hear that you said such a thing about them, and it's a lie, they're going to kill you. So you got yourself into hot water. He says, go. It's not only that, I'll go with you. So he goes, they go together, the advisor, coach, whatever you want to call him, and the son to the father. The son tells the father, Dad, this guy is saying, I'm not your real son, I'm an adopted kid. That's crazy, what's going on here? And the father suddenly turns red. He turns to the son and he said, I don't know why he had to tell you that. I don't know how he knows that. Nobody in the world knows. But your mother and I couldn't have kids. And we made it as if your mother was pregnant because we didn't even want the people in the kingdom to know. She stayed out of the public eye for 9 months. And we made a big celebration as if we had a son. But really, you are adopted. It's true. So the king is blown away now. How did he know? Nobody in the world knew. How did he know? So the king turns to the guy and he tells him, I don't understand. How did you know that? There's nobody in the world except for my wife and I that know this. How did you know? How did you know? And he tells him like this. I went with your son. And he wanted to buy a horse. And when he wanted to buy a horse, I told him not to buy the horse. Why? Because the horse is going to end up killing him. And sure enough, a few minutes later it was proven that that's what would happen. And you know what his son's response was? Thank you very much. And he took out a few dollars from his pocket and he gave it to me. Then I went with his son to a diamond place. They were going to rip him off a couple $1 million on a diamond. And I saved him from a few $1 million loss. And you know what his response was? He took out a few dollars and he gave it to me. I said, a person who's a real son of a king, who grew up as a ben shel melech, would understand to appreciate somebody who saved his life more than giving him just a few dollars. Would understand to appreciate somebody that saved him a loss of millions more than just handing him a handshake of a few dollars. He said, and the fact that he did that showed me that it must be that genetically he's not a real ben shel melech. Because the son of a real king, there's no way he would behave in such a cheap way. The son of a real king would behave in a respectable way. He would respect himself. This story is brought down in a sefer called Ba'achi Nafshi. That's a sefer that was written from the Torah of Rav Zilberstein Shlita in Chelek Bet. And over there, Rav Zilberstein gives an unbelievable punchline. He says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Banim atem la'Hashem Elokechem. You're my child. That means you're a ben shel melech. You're a son of Hashem. He said, a ben milachim. A son of HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't get himself dirty over little things. And his thank you to Hashem for giving him life and for giving him everything he has is not, oh, I did God a favor, I remembered to put on tefillin today maybe if I worked out on my schedule. He feels that he's a ben shel melech. And he behaves like a ben shel melech. It's a big yisod, unbelievable way that Zilberstein explains this. Al zeh haderech, on this way, there's an unbelievable pshat from the Sefer Baal Toldot Yaakov Yosef, Hasidic Sefer, that he says it, this pshat not from himself, he says that this pshat is in the name of the holy Baal Shem Tov, Zchutei Yagen Aleinu. The Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh said a pshat, the Pasuk says in Mishlei, Musar Hashem b'ni al timas. The simple explanation of the Pasuk obviously is, Musar Hashem, if Hashem, when Hashem gives Musar, there are two parshiyot in the Torah that Hashem gives very strong Musar, not just Musar. B'ni, my child, al timas, don't push it away, don't get upset by it, understand that it's for your benefit. It's like, God forbid, a doctor tells a guy you have high blood sugar, be careful, don't eat certain things. The doctor's not trying to hurt you, he's trying to help you, he's trying to save you, he's trying to make sure that you have a good life. So that's the simple understanding of the Pasuk. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave a person Musar, al timas, don't throw it away, understand that it's Hashem berov rachamav, but His great love that He's trying to give a little shot to you that you should be able to do the right way. But the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh says a different pshat in the Pasuk. Derech HaChasidut. What a brilliant pshat. It is so applicable for us. When we go into Chodesh ELUL, of course in Chodesh ELUL, I don't doubt we're all going to learn Musar every day. We have to learn Musar with this attitude. Comes the holy Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh and he writes, Musar Hashem. Sometimes there's Musar that we learn from a sefer, or a shiur that we go to, or a Talmid Chacham gives a shiur. Mashgiach in the yeshiva, whatever, says a Sichat Musar. But then there's a different type of Musar. Musar Hashem, that Kaviyachol Hashem himself gives some sort of Musar to a person. He says, what is that Musar? What's the Musar that Hashem himself gives? Comes the Baal Shem Tov and it says, Hashem's Musar is one word that's 3 letters. Musar Hashem, B'ni, you're my child. That's his whole Musar. Be aware, you're my child. What does that mean? You're a ben shel melech, you're a son of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore what? What is it? How's that Musar? That's the biggest flattery in the world. That's the biggest pat on the back that you can get. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, now they understood B'ni, al timas. Don't dirty yourself with stupid averot. You're a ben shel melech. Somebody just came back from a construction site and he was painting all day, and his shirt is full of paint and his pants is full of dust and paint instead. And then he spilled a little coffee on his shirt. Nobody's going to even realize, because it already had 14,000 stains on it, so 14,001 doesn't really make a big difference. Even the dry cleaners won't accept it. But if somebody has a brand new white shirt that he just put on the Chod Shabbat Kodesh and he's about to walk into shul, and as he was walking in, some kid bumped into him with a cup of Coke, and boom, now he's covered in Coke. That's already a stain. He doesn't want to walk into shul. He's embarrassed. His whole shirt is dirty. What's the difference? One had a clean shirt, and one, in the first place, it wasn't. Because Baruch Hu comes and tells every Jew, no matter what situation he is, he's in life, B'ni, you're always my child. And every day it's a whole new B'ni. And therefore, al timaz, don't dirty yourself. It's a waste of time. Just don't dirty yourself. My uncle Rav Nisim Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Chas Chodesh Yagen Aleinu. He used to always say that that's what we say in the morning when we pray. In Birkot HaShach, Elokai Neshama Shenatata Bi Tehora Hi. He says that Elokai Neshama Shenatata Bi Tehora Hi is not just a Birkat HaShvach, like a prayer to praise God or to thank God. He said it's the biggest Musar Sefer in the world. Chazon Ish, for example, it's known that he didn't learn many Sefei Musar. Chazon Ish was a Gaon Olam. He learned Torah non-stop, 24 hours a day. You know, the description of the Chazon Ish that they wrote about him, I'm saying Dolei Olam wrote about him, I think the Stipler even was the one who said it, was that he never slept in a bed. And once they asked him, why doesn't he sleep in a bed? He had a bed. So Chazon Ish said, Be'etzim, he wants to sleep in a bed. And the right thing for everybody to do is to sleep in a comfortable bed. It's healthier, it's better for you, you sleep deeper. He said, but he learns until he has zero strength. And then he says, okay, it's time to go to sleep. So he gets up to go to sleep. But he has no physical strength anymore, so he collapses. So he sleeps whenever he collapses. That was the Chazon Ish's Amal HaTorah. We can't even understand what that means at all. He couldn't even make it to the bed. That's what they say about the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish, in general, they didn't see him very frequently with learning Mesilat Yesharim, Shari Tshuva. You know, the basic Musar Sfarim, even though Chazon Ish was a big Baal Musar himself. So it didn't make sense because he himself was such a great Baal Musar. So how did it come out that he was such a great Baal Musar and they didn't? So once somebody had the guts to ask him straight out. And the Chazon Ish wasn't scared of questions. He answered. Chazon Ish said that just his Birkot HaShach alone is such a Sefer Musar that he's passed all the Musar that there is. He gets it all just from saying Birkot HaShach. He didn't explain what he meant. I'm not saying that this is what the Chazon Ish meant, but my uncle Rav Nisim Zitzal said, we say Elkai, Hashem, Neshama, the soul, Shenatata Bi, that you gave me, not that you gave me years ago. They gave me today. Tehora, he is pure. He gave me another chance. A pure Neshama. And then later on we say, V'ata atid litla mimeni. And tonight when I go to sleep, it goes back up to Shemayim again. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells a person every morning in the prayer this. He says, you don't want to make your Neshama better? Okay, that's your choice. But at least give it back to me at night as clean as I gave it to you in the morning. Don't dirty it more than it was in the morning. At least whatever it was in the morning, it should be at night. You have a Musar that's greater than that. And that's right in the morning, right after Modeh Ani. You just started the morning, you just started your first prayer, boom. Got the biggest Sefer Musar in the world over there. Somebody once told me that he wasn't a Shomer Torah Mitzvot, he was raised in a home that learned Shomer Torah Mitzvot. And he started piquing interest and getting stronger in Judaism, looking to get stronger in Judaism. And he went for an Eitzah by one of the Rebbes, I don't remember which, but one of the famous Rebbes in Israel. And he asked the Rebbe, what should he take upon himself? And he was expecting the Rebbe to tell him, Shabbat, Kashrut, a whole long list. And the Rebbe told him, you should take upon yourself to say Birkot HaShachar in the morning, but to say it in a way that you learn the explanation and understand the words that you say. When he walked out of there, he said he felt great. That's it? Big deal. He says, I love learning. I'll buy a book that explains Birkot HaShachar. I'll read it. It takes 5 minutes every morning. And the Rebbe said that's what I got to do. He said until he bought the Sefer and started learning. And then the next morning he wanted to say Birkot HaShachar. He said he just started when he woke up. Modeh ani lefanecha. And when he said the word lefanecha, he burst out into bitter tears. He said, I'm standing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu now. I'm sitting. He was still sitting. He was in bed. In front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu now. What, I'm going to do Averot today? I'm not going to put on tefillin today? I'm not going to eat kosher today? He became a Baal Tshuva Gamur. He's a big tzaddik. Big Oved Hashem. Just from Modeh ani lefanecha! Standing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's Banim Atem LaHashem Elokechem, that a person should understand that he's a ben shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a son of Hashem. That idea is a very important idea when we go into Chodesh HaRachamim VaSlichot, because that gives chizuk to somebody. If a person starts counting all his mistakes and averot he did in his life, it's very easy to give up in 3 seconds. What's going to be over here? Oiveh. I'm sure last year by Ne'ilah and Yom Kippur, they would have asked us how we're going to look on Erev Rosh Chodesh ELUL. we would have probably described ourselves like somebody from 500 generations ago or something. I don't know, maybe like Avraham Avinu. And then it comes Shabbat Mevachim Chodesh ELUL, and a guy does a little calculation, and he sees, I don't know, Avraham Avinu stayed in Marat Machpelah, and I stayed in New York. And that could break a person. So now what? I'm going to start all over again? Chas v'shalom. Banim atem Hashem Elokechem. You're a son of Hashem. What does it make a difference now? Think about right now. Right now I'm a son of Hashem. I'm going to behave like a son of Hashem. That's what counts. V'avar ayin. What was. V'atid adayin. What's going to be, who knows? But today I can do it. So that's it. That's what counts. Right now. Banim atem Hashem Elokechem. I'm a son of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Avinu Sanayvishitz in the Sefer Yarot Dvash. This I didn't see inside. I saw it in the same Sefer that I quoted from last week, B'Noam Siach. He brings down from the Sefer Yarot Dvash. He says the source, in Chelek Aleph, Dush Tet Vav, he says it's in. He brings down the words word for word. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it's a long paragraph. But he says an unbelievable thing. He said if a person wants to get close to Hashem, he has to find the source. What does that mean? Let's say somebody's not feeling well. All week went by, he's feeling weak, he has fever, he does it. So a normal person will go to a doctor and maybe take a few tests. Maybe you have strep, maybe you have a virus, maybe you have something else, an infection. And all you need is a little antibiotics for a couple of days and you'll feel great. If you don't do that, so then it gets worse and worse, and Hashem Yerachim Yerkedim. It's the same thing with getting close to Hashem. If a person wants to get close to Hashem, the first step is to see the source. What's the source? What's the source of the problem? Why don't I feel close to Hashem? So Rabbi Yaakov says that the source of not feeling close to Hashem, his words are, "V'zui tachlit machalateinu." The bottom line, the punchline of the sickness of not feeling close to Hashem is, "She'anu shochechim ki shoresh nishmateinu mimakol norav v'nisgav." Because we forget that our neshama kedosha comes from such a great holy place. If a person would remember, Elokai neshama shenatata bi, that Hashem Himself, Kaviyachol, gives him back the neshama. You know, Chazal say in different places that every morning the neshama goes to Hashem and he says he doesn't want to go back down. He says, I'm here in Gan Eden, what do I need to go back down to the world for? And Hashem forces the neshama back into the person every day again, against his will. His goal, because the person has to live, and without you there's no life. So if a person remembers, Shenatadabi, Hashem gave him a gift every day again, the neshama kedosha, he says that, then he solved the source of the illness. That's the greatest antibiotic of anything. And then, by the way, Rabbi Yaakov over there says that that's going to cause a person to get to great levels. What levels? One of the levels is he says that a person will always be humble. Because he's always going to live with that feeling that everything he has is from Hashem. So he'll never be arrogant. Because Allah Kodesh Baruch Hu, so what are you showing off with Hashem? You're showing off with somebody else's thing? That's so backwards. Imagine a guy walked into shul, Shalom that should never happen, with a brand new expensive watch, and Friday night he goes to Hashem, see my watch? And the next day he doesn't have the watch. And the guy said, what happened to your watch? And he doesn't answer. Turns out the watch wasn't even his. He went to one of his friends over there. He said, let me borrow your watch. And he was showing it off as if it's his own watch. We would say he's an idiot. What are you doing? It's not yours. That's gava. Nothing in this world is yours. Everything's temporary. The olam is arai. Because Baruch Hu gave you everything. If you understand that you're a ben shel melech means that everything's from Hashem, so then suddenly there's no reason to show off. What do you have to show off for? So they say on this concept, an unbelievable mashal, that there was a king that had a son that he was looking for a girl for. He wanted a girl to marry, a good girlfriend. But of course, the son was a special boy, a son of a king also. So he wanted somebody who has royalty in their blood. He wanted somebody who was qualified to be the daughter-in-law of the king. How's he going to know for sure? She can come from a good family and she's far from it. There's no, or the other way, come from a simple family. Avraham Avinu came from Terach and he was still Avraham Avinu. Well, that's not an indicator. So how's he going to know? So you get an interesting thing. One day his son said, Dad, I found this girl and I think she's the right one and that. So the father said, fine, I want to meet her. Comes, he meets, speaks to her, he's very impressed. But then he said to himself, big deal, maybe she put up a show. Maybe somebody told her what to say, what not to say, how to behave. Maybe it was all a show. So he had an eitzah. It got dark outside. And he told her, listen, at night to go back home, it's not safe. I have a big palace. Pick any room in the palace you want. Sleep there at night. Tomorrow morning, tell my servants, they'll take you back home. Okay. She walked around the palace. She found one gorgeous room. She said, if I'm already staying in the palace, in the king's palace, why not enjoy it all the way, right? She tells the servants, make this room up for me. This is where I want to sleep. The king calls the servants right away. And he says, listen, give her the biggest, fattest mattress, pillow top, the best of the best. Whatever the best is, make sure you arrange it a bit. We don't have it in the palace, go buy it, whatever it is. But before you put it down on the box spring, or on whatever, on the base, put a few peas, raw peas, under the mattress. The servants thought the king was crazy. But, okay, king said, you don't ask questions on the mail. That's what they did. The next morning she woke up. This says in the Sefer Umatoko, in Chumash Vayikach, over there. The next morning the girl woke up and she was going to have breakfast with the king and his son. The king asked her, how was the room last night? She said, the room's gorgeous. He said, how did you sleep? She said, overall okay. He said, well, you couldn't sleep well, somebody bothered you, it wasn't that. Tell me, I want to make sure everything's comfortable for the future. She said, I don't know, in the middle of the night I woke up and I felt that there was something stinging me a little bit in my back in a few places. So the king told him, Mazal Tov, you're my daughter-in-law. So he said, what? What does that have to do with anything? Let me tell you what it has to do. So I told my servants to put a few raw peas under a mattress. Somebody who didn't grow up in real royalty and doesn't have a real fine way of living would never be able to tell on such a big fat mattress that there are a few raw peas underneath. It's only somebody who grew up in such a fine way that can even think of such an idea to feel that maybe it's a drop off. Comes the Sefer Matoko and he says, if we understand this Yisod, then we understand how to be tzaddikim right away. Somebody who's a ben shel melech, he grew up, Neshama grew up tachat kisei hakavod. So he has a sensitivity. He has he's tuned finely to know this is right, this is wrong, even without being told. He understands on his own. This I should do, this I shouldn't do. That's the ultimate ben shel melech. He'll even feel in his sleep. He'll even feel in his the tiniest things. There were great tzaddikim in all the generations that even in their sleep they used to talk Divrei Torah. If you put your ear near their mouth, you would hear them talking Divrei Torah. The Arizal said what he accomplishes in learning in his sleep is a lot more than he accomplishes when he's awake. So, because when he's sleeping, part of his neshama goes back up to Shamayim, so he learns there so much quicker than he can learn here. Whatever, I don't know what that means exactly, but there is such a musad. My grandfather, that I'm named after, Rabbi Yaakov Yagen, when he was 13 years old, he took upon himself a very interesting thing, that he's never going to miss praying tefillah vatikim, shacharit, nets. Not nets of today's nets. And by the Hasidim they have nets also, it's just a different time in the calendar. It's Rashi Tevot, 9:10 o'clock. Nets. And he was in crazy situations in Syria, later on in Turkey, then in Israel, before Israel was a state at all, in all different situations. He never missed tefillah nets. Never. Sof Yamav, we don't know exactly how old he was, because whatever reasons, but based on the minimum age that he was when he passed away was 104. Probably he was a lot older than that. But that's the minimum possible just because of the numbers of the places that he was and where he is. The last day or so, he was in an induced coma, I think it was. But he was unconscious because of his medical condition. And when it came exactly the time of Netz, 5 minutes before Netz, his lips started moving. The kids, I wasn't there. My father, Badel Chaim Tovim, was there. He walked over and he listened, and he was saying the words of Tfilat Shacharit. And on the second of the time of Netz, he started Tfilat Amidah. Because Baruch Hu saw a person, his whole life was Moseh Nefesh, never to miss praying Vatikim. Said even on his deathbed, when he's in an induced coma, he's out. And one step in Shamayim already. He's still not going to miss Tfilah. That's what Son Yireyav Yaseh. That if you really have a will, if you really want to do it, if you really want to be a Ben Shel Melech, then there's nothing that can stop a person. L'maaseh in Halacha, in Sefer Chinuch, we see that he brings down many times, in many different contexts, how important it is for a person to remember that he's a Ben Shel Melech. For example, the Chinuch brings down Mitzvah Zayin on the inyan of, when it comes to Korban Pesach. Why do we eat Korban Pesach? Inshallah, we should eat Korban Pesach for Merav Yameinu on the Beit Mikdash. Why do we eat Korban Pesach tzali, roasted, grilled? So listen to his words. He doesn't write a superstition of that. His words are, "Lefi shekach derech b'nei melachim v'sarim le'echol basar tzali," because that's the way a Ben Shel Melech eats meat. And a Jew is a Ben Shel Melech, therefore that's the way you should eat. Unbelievable thing. Unbelievable thing. Chinuch continues in many places, but over there also he continues that there's an issur to leave the Korban Pesach an extra day, right? You have to eat it that night, otherwise there was a part you can't eat it anymore. Why is there such a mitzvah? So he explains it in an interesting way. Kederech melachim usarim, the way of the kings and the ministers. She'inam tzrichim lo'otir mitavshilam miyom liyom. In our terms, they don't eat leftovers. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave a mitzvah. Don't eat the Korban Pesach the next morning. Why? You're a Ben Shel Melech. And a Ben Shel Melech doesn't do that. That means in the whole Torah and all the mitzvot of the Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu stuck in over and over again that chizuk to a person. They should always feel, of course, Ben, Bat is the same thing, that you're a child of Hashem, you're a child of a king. I'm going to tell you a quote from the great tzaddik, Rabbi Aaron HaGadol min Kalin. Zecher tzaddik kadosh levacha, zchuto yagen aleinu, amen. Rabbi Aaron min Kalin says that once his Talmidim came to him and they said, "Rabbi, we want to know, in your opinion, what is the worst avirah in the world that a person can do? What's the worst sin a person could possibly do?" Now, if we would take a simple survey here, obviously people would say, "The Gimel Chamurot Shvat Torah, but that's what we would say. Yeah, they value. Rabbi Min Kalim put his head down on the table. That's what he used to do when he wanted to think. People say he used to even send his neshama upstairs to get an answer, and it took him a very long time. And the Hasidim was trembling, waiting for his answer. And when he picked up his head, he told them these words: "The greatest sin that a Jew can do in this world is to forget that he's a Ben Shel Melech, that he's the son of a king. That's the greatest sin that exists." And he went on to say, and the second, the greatest sin that would exist in this world is that a person should forget that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the entire world b'shvili niva ha'olam, especially for you. What a deep understanding. What do you mean? Shallow people today would say, what type of crazy thing is that to say? Let him talk about the Avirot HaChamurot. Right? We have a lot of shallow people today, unfortunately. They don't think before they talk. Baruch Hashem, our Kahal thinks. We're a Kahal of thinkers. But not everybody has that schut. It means very simple. If a person's a Ben Shel Melech, then all the other Avirot are not going to get him anymore. Because even if he'll do an Avirah, the next day he's already past it, he's going to be tshuva. He's going to change. Because he feels like a Ben Shel Melech. If a person feels like a piece of garbage his whole life, he's going to behave like a piece of garbage. That's what he feels like. So Rabbi Kalin really explained the depth of how to succeed in Avodat Hashem. You want to know the real depth of how to succeed in the Avodat Hashem? Understand constantly, remind yourself constantly, I'm a Ben Shel Melech, I'm a son of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rabbi Yaakov ended in his Akdamat Sidur. He writes an unbelievable thing. Kol ma she'adam nilkad b'mitzudat ha'etz ha'ara. The only reason why a person never gets trapped in the Eitz ha'ara, balo machmat, it comes because sheshochiach yichuso hanora v'hanifla. He forgets his great lineage. Ki ben melechu, that he's the son of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'choshev shu mimishpachat ha'kafrim ovdei adama b'shigonoteihem. And he thinks he comes from a simple family with all its craziness. And therefore, what do you want from me? My parents this. What do you want from me that? What do you want from me the other? All the excuses that we have. B'shigonoteihem. Yeah, people around you might have been crazy. But that doesn't take away from who you really are. Who you really are is a chedek elokam imal. You're really a son of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what counts to remember. And he continues over there and he says, Im yasim adam libo, and if a person will pay attention, שהמלאכים מלווים אותו לשומרו, that הקדוש ברוך הוא has angels always walking around with him to protect him. יראה בעיני שכלו מעלתו וגדולתו. He's going to realize in his own seichel, in his own knowledge, how great he is. And when he's going to remember this, he writes, and he was going to remember this, suddenly he'll feel that he's worth something in the world. He'll value himself so much more. V'titzlach alav ruach elokim. And the spirit of Hashem is going to always dwell on him. Shelo yitpa'el mishum itpa'alut she'inam lefi kvodo. And as a result, he's not going to be impressed by anything that's not for the respect of a son of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Umikol davar meguneh v'ra yishmor yado. And from anything that's bad, he'll protect himself. V'az lo yeh le'yetzer hara mibo elav. And then the yetzer hara will have no way to get onto him. I'm going to tell you something that just came to my mind. I have no idea if this is true or not, but my instincts tell me I might be onto something here. It's brought down in the Sfarim HaKadoshim. I think Peliyotz brings it down from others already. And there are many other Sfarim that talk about it as well. I think Reb Chaim Vital and others. That if a person does a Ta'anit Dibur, doesn't talk, except for Divrei Torah and Tefillah, for 40 days straight, at the end of the 40 days, he's going to get to the level of Ruach HaKodesh. Now, I always wanted to understand that. This is a magic trick. First of all, it's not an easy thing to do. Good luck. Try it. Why not? It's a good thing. Chodesh ELUL. Stop talking Sunday night till after Yom Kippur. Good luck. And if you do it, I'm coming to you Erev Hoshana, Erev Kippur, and Motzei Kippur for a blessing. And a lot more. Because at that point, it says in Sfarim HaKadoshim, you got to the level of Ruach HaKodesh. There are tzaddikim in this world that do it. I've done Sega. 40 days. 41 days. He does an extra day just in case. 41 days straight. Ta'anit Dibur, nothing. The world's dead. Over. Unbelievable. But I think maybe there's something more over here. How do you get to Ruach HaKodesh? You have to first understand that there's such a thing called Ruach HaKodesh. That there's Kodesh. That there's something holy in this world. When a person in his regular routine is so busy and so distracted and so many things going on, and to the good or the bad, but always running. It's a never-ending chase. Never-ending chase. I think my younger brother once told me that in our childhood at one point, my mother and father took us one summer to Boston. I don't know, maybe vacation. Honestly, I don't remember it, but for whatever reason it was. And I grew up in Muncie, in a suburb. Today Muncie became a whole city. But when I grew up in Muncie, it was a little suburb. Grass and trees, that's about what you saw. And so to go to Boston, that was a big deal. To see a city. And my brother always tells me, he says that we were in Boston, and one day we were walking on the street, the second day we were there, and we went to I'm not so familiar with Boston until today, honestly, but went to the area, I guess the business area, or whatever, the downtown we'll call it. I might be saying it wrong. And, people are always, we know this from New York City. People are always racing. Nobody walks calmly. And if they do, then he's a tourist. But New York is always fast-paced, right? And Boston's the same way. And he says that I was standing at a street corner, and I started stopping people. And I said, excuse me, sir, can I ask you a question? And they see a young kid, why not? People want to be polite. I say, yeah, sure. Well, you need something? I said, where are you running to? And he was younger than me, and he says he remembers it so clearly. And he says, you know what else I remember? That not one person had an answer. They all smiled and told me, one day you'll understand. Okay, a lot of years went by and I still don't understand. Maybe one day I'll understand. Maybe. I do understand when I stand outside on 7th Street in the morning once in a blue moon and I see a lot of college students running. That I understand. That they're running to get to the yeshiva to be on time for first seder. That I understand very well. The olam hanitzchi. The chase of nothing, the chase of the tov v'hevel, that's definitely not a ben shel melech. Volben is Sefer Alei Shu and Chelik Aleph on page Kuf Samechet. Says an unbelievable thing. When he writes Hadracha, guidance for Ben Aliyah, if somebody wants to grow in spirituality, he says, Bli Toda'at Chashivut without understanding, knowing your importance, how important you are as a person, ein avodah b'Torah. You're never going to have any success in your work and your learning. You want to succeed in learning? First realize you're a ben shel melech, you're a son of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're worth something in the world. And he continues and he proves it. He says that that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Am Yisrael by Matan Torah, "Vatem tiyu li mamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh." You're going to be not only benam shel melachim, sons of kings. You yourself, Am Yisrael themselves, will be a mamlechet kohanim, a kingdom. You'll be a Yehudim b'nei melachim is the kings and relative to the whole world. It's a different level. Why? Rashi, by the way, over there writes, Kohanim Sarim. Sarim means high ministers. Kol echad miYisrael usar. Bal ma'ala bal achayut. Every Jew in Am Yisrael has such a great level of importance by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bolberg goes on in great length over there to say that the beginning of a person's avodah to get close to Hashem is to instill in himself and to ingrain in himself this idea. You're a son of HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. You're a ben shel melachim. You're a ben shel melech. You gotta wake up in the morning and say, I'm an important person. Not important by people. People think you're important, that makes no difference. That's the chase of the Tov of heaven. I'm important by Hashem. And what's the proof that I'm important by Hashem? That it was worth it for him to force my neshama back down to the world today and not keep it upstairs. That's how important I am. That he went to war with my soul to bring him back down, so I should be here today. That's how great I am. From Kisei HaKavod. There's no way to express in words, because there's no description in physical time how far Kisei HaKavod is away. It's eternity. From eternity to this world, it was worth it for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to take the holy neshama and to bring it over here. The Alter from Kelm used to take this yesod further. The Alter from Kelm used to say that if you give a dog leftover food, that's scraps, spoiled food, half-spoiled food, it doesn't get so sick from it. But if you give a person food, it's a drop, not whatever, suddenly has a stomach virus, even worse, food poisoning, Hashem Yirachem, causes all different problems. So what's the difference? He ate and he ate. Why by him it's like this and by him it's like this? Because the finer a person is, the more sensitive his body becomes. And a person, a human, is on a higher level. I know today it's not so politically correct to say this, but this is the truth. What should we do? That a person's on a higher level than an animal. Yeah, that's the way it is. And we have to protect people's rights before we protect animals' rights. They would invest the resources that they invest in animals' rights into conquering the drug problems in the U.S., then we wouldn't have drug problems in the U.S. probably. You know, we got it all wrong, right? I once had a very interesting heart-to-heart conversation with a wonderful Israeli guy. Wonderful. It's a shame I didn't take his number. I wish I could have kept up with him. Such a sweet guy. I met him on an airplane going back from Israel to the U.S. No, sorry, from the U.S. to Israel. He came here for tragic reasons. He told me that on the plane. He was sitting near me. We were schmoozing a little bit. He had a brother that passed away in very tragic circumstances in New York. And he came just for a couple of days or whatever, for the funeral, for the Shiva. It was right after Shiva. I was going back to Israel. We were talking a little bit. And he asked me what I do. I asked him what he does. Well, just friendly chat. I don't know this guy from anywhere. But I was able to see in 3 seconds that he's a very passionate person, a big neshama, big neshama. Every Jew is a big neshama. But it was nice to sit near a Jewish guy, a big neshama. And at a certain point, he tells me, excuse me for a minute, I want to take off. He was wearing, I guess, a sweater on top of his shirt. He said, I got a little hot. I want to take it off. I'm going to go hang it up for a second. I'll come right back. So you don't have to excuse yourself. I'm sorry if I'm keeping, maybe you want to sleep, you want to do something else. I'm just enjoying our conversation. He says, no, I'm good. I'm enjoying it also. Just 1 minute. I'm going to put my sweater. Coming back. Comes back. 1, 2 minutes later, he sits down again. And he was wearing a short sleeve shirt. He had a sweater. I guess just in case it's cold on the plane. But really, I see he has a big tattoo over here on his arm. Big. Took up a big part, and he was one of those who knows how to bench press. And so there's a lot of space for the tattoo. Got to put a tattoo over here. There's nowhere to put it. But so over there he had. embarrassed to even use these terms, but for the humor shibbo, it was more than a shiur chazonish. It was, with all the chumrot. And it said in Hebrew, it had a picture of a cat. That was like the tattoo. And in the middle it said in Hebrew, 3 words. Ten lachayot lichyot. Let the animals live. Here's what he had tattooed over here on his arm like that. What was the problem with it? I wasn't going to get into the conversation with him. It's Yisud L'Oraita, what are you doing? It's done already. And Al Pi Halacha, it's not so simple as a chiyuv to take it out once it's done. The problem was that 5 minutes later I was hungry. I don't really eat airplane food because in general I'm a little sensitive to it. So my wife normally packages me some food, or I buy some food right before I leave from somewhere. They make me a sandwich. And my sandwich was a pastrami sandwich. Well, how's that going to work with the tattoo? I was a little bit nervous. And if he could bench press, he could bench press me also along the way. It's not... So I decided I'll get into the discussion with him. I told him, interesting tattoo and that. And he tells me his whole ideology about protecting animals. He doesn't eat meat. The guy's a vegan, not just a vegetarian, he's a vegan. No eggs, no this, no that. How do you have like that if you don't eat anything? I don't know, but maybe steroids, I don't know what they do over there. Kids, he tells me. So I told him, listen, we're in a little bit of a tough situation right now. So he says, what? I said, I'm starving. He says, so eat. I said, no, but I'm eating an animal in a minute. And I don't want to offend you. And so either tell me if you're sensitive and I'll find somewhere else to sit for a few minutes and eat my food, or tell me if you're so sensitive then maybe you have an alternative food that's kosher for me and I'll eat that. Or whatever, we agree to disagree and I see it different than you. So he said, no, I don't impose my views on other people, this is just for me. I said, that looks pretty imposing to me. He says, no, that's my personal thing, this is what I... He says, I have no problem with it at all. He says, I'll tell you more than that. If you don't have... He thought I was getting food from the plane. He said, if you want me, I'll even go get it for you. Very open-minded. I like people like that. He's such a nice person. While I was eating, we were still talking a little bit. So we get into... Then I told him, tell me where in your depths of your heart did this thing come from? We always liked this on the day you were born. Did it happen suddenly? Did something happen in your life? Where did this come from? She told me a crazy story. That honestly, the association to me was a little different. I didn't understand it completely, but it just shows how you have to be careful. You never know where a person's coming from in life. This is that he was in the army, in the Israeli army, and he was serving. He told me where. I wish I would remember all the details. I don't remember. But in one of the war zones, Hashem Yirachim. And he said one day there was 4 or 5 of them that were doing a certain watch. And there was a terrorist that came and blew up right near them. And the guy died. He was a suicide bomber. And 3 out of the 5, I think it was, died also. Him and one friend were saved. They were wounded a little bit, but not so bad. They got out of it, and they were saved. And he said that was the day he became a vegan. He said, what was... I didn't understand at the beginning. So he said, because I realized that if you don't value life, so that's what you end up doing. So today, I don't want to do anything that's going to take away life. That's what he told me. Interesting association. So I told him, Tzaddik, I'm talking to you out of love, not to criticize, not because I think I'm any better than you. Adarab and Shamayim, you're probably much better than me. But if a person and an animal are the same thing, so then your logic is 100% right. But if the only reason why Hashem created an animal in the first place is for the person to eat it, and if it's kosher, so then maybe that logic doesn't really add up. And I said, I'll prove you yourself that you don't believe what you're saying. Because vegetables you do eat. What gives you the right to pull the vegetable off the plant that's also killing a life? Well, because it doesn't walk, it doesn't talk. Who decided what the criteria of life is? I said, Elamai, the creator of the world, decided what the criteria is and what the order of life is. This is Domem, Tzomeh, Chai, Medaber, and Israel. So that, Borei Olam said that there's a mitzvah to eat meat on Yamim Tovim, on different times, Korbanot, in the Beit Mikdash. It's if you could walk a mile in that way of thinking, could be you could put your sweater back on because that tattoo is no longer applicable. His sweater didn't go back on. I don't have some great fancy story. He became about tshuva, this, that. No. But I have a wonderful story of the sensitivity of a Jew. In his mind, he didn't know better. And in his mind, this was the link. And this was, and therefore, happens to be, I didn't want to discourage him from not being a vegan, because I said, at least a vegan, the chance of him doing Yisurei Doraita, Basar v'chalav, and this and that is so much less, because he doesn't eat all these things. So a lot of Averot he saves in his life. So we leave it at that. But on the flip side, what we have to learn from it is, if you lose the idea of that you're a Ben Shel Melech, then what's left at that point? There's nothing left. And that's the avodah. Zalt Hashem, Hashem should give us a schus. We should go into ELUL with a fresh strength. Our whole avodah of Chodesh ELUL Be'ez Hashem should be to work on this idea of Banim Atem LaHashem Elokechem. I want to end off just with one story. And the reason is like this. Tonight is the yahrzeit of the Holy Satmar Rebbe, Rabbi Yaakov Yagen, Zechet Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha, Zchutei Yagen Aleinu. Thousands and thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of Jews are going to Monroe, to the Keva now. Shehem Matav Chalkein. Tzadik Yisrael Olam. Tomorrow night, on Shabbat Kodesh, is the... I never had the schut to see Rabbi Yaakov Yagen. I don't think so, at least. But my father did. I will share with you that I feel a great hakarat tov to him, even though I didn't see him in my life that I remember. And that's why I spend a lot of time learning his Sfarim for many, many years. I even said many shiurim. I'm a big part of his Sfarim. Because my father once told me that when he finished Sheva Brachot, or a few weeks later, I don't remember exactly when, but a short period of time later, he went with my mother to the Satmar Rebbe Zitzal, and he asked them for a blessing that he should have a child. And the Satmar Rebbe gave him a blessing, and he told him Hashem should help, your wife should get pregnant, whatever it was, but I'm skipping a few details, and she should have a son, and he added on some other words that I'm going to skip as well. But very nice blessing, very, very nice blessing. And my father says that 9 months exactly later, I was born. Interesting. So I always felt that maybe Satmar Rebbe was the one who gave the bracha for my neshama to come down to the world, and I feel a very, very close relationship with his Torah, his Sfarim HaKadoshim, that I put out for him because of that. Tomorrow night is the yahrzeit of the Toshra of Zechet Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha. I had the schut to be by B'chayav on multiple occasions, under many contexts. Unbelievable. And I've seen crazy things there over the years. I'd share with you some stories that I saw myself over there, things that don't make sense. The last time I saw the Toshra Rebbe was very close to his passing, a few weeks before, and at that point the Rebbe already didn't talk, he didn't, whatever, he wasn't functioning much, and I knew that, but when I went for a certain reason, and the reason entailed seeing the Rebbe as well, and when I just stood there, and I was just staring. I just stood there like frozen, looking. And one of the Gabayim, who was a close friend of mine, who I love dearly, tapped me on my shoulder. He said, when you're done, come outside, I want to tell you something. And what could the guy tell me already? We're close friends, we talk all the time. Well, what's there to tell me right now? My curiosity got the best out of me, so I walked right out to hear what he had to say. He said, you're wasting your time in there. I want to tell you something and then go back in. I said, what does that mean? I know the Rebbe for a long time. You know me for a long time. Come in. So he said, go back in and think when you're walking in. I have the merit in this world, it was 2015 then, in 2015, to see a Jew whose body never knew what it means to sin even once. And I walked back in right after I heard those words. And this is somebody who was his Gabay Ne'eman for probably 25, 30 years straight. He knew the Rebbe in every situation, everything. When I walked back into that room after hearing those words, maybe 20 seconds later I walked out. I was trembling so much from the fear of Kedusha that I suddenly realized I'm exposed to. I wasn't physically capable of standing there afterwards. I just walked away. So this Shabbat is his yahrzeit. Rab Mishulam Fayesh Halevi ben Rab Mordechai Vetzira, Zechet Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha, Zchutei Yagen Aleinu, Amen. So on my way here, I already got here actually. I was standing outside before I went inside to the shul, I picked up the phone and I called this guy by, who's a close friend of mine. I told him I'm going to speak soon, and I want you to do me a favor. I need a new story about the Rebbe that I didn't say over here. I can't recycle. Give me something new. So he told me I have thousands and thousands of stories. How am I supposed to know what to tell you? I said, the first one, whatever comes to your mind right now, just give me a story. He says, I'm going to give you a story that just came to my mind. It links very well to the Parashat, but we're out of time to explain why and how. He says, the Rebbe had a situation that one day he was sitting in the room late at night. You know, the Rebbe saw people till 4 or 5 in the morning. And if you want to understand what a great man means, he wouldn't eat until he finished seeing all the people that were waiting for him. This man was, even in his older age, 70s, was fasting from when he prayed Shacharit early in the morning for close to 20 hours, 22 hours. He wouldn't eat because there's still people that need me. How could I waste my time eating? It's not a human thing, right? Today we contact somebody, call him back. Next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I'm not blaming anybody. Some people are busy. But the Tasha Rebbe was never busy. He always had time and an open door for everybody to call. He said it was one night, it was very late already, and a Jew walked into the Rebbe, who the Rebbe never saw before. He said nobody knew who he was. He waited a long time online, and he sat down by the chair near the Rebbe. He gave him a little piece of paper with his name, and he burst out into terrible, terrible tears. And the Rebbe held his hand and said, "What happened, my son? What do you need?" What? And he told the Rebbe a story. He's Israeli, and he has a son who's 9 years old who has cancer, which you never know, and the kid needs medical treatments. And in Israel, they weren't able to do anything for him already because they gave up or whatever he told them. And they want to get treatments here in the United States. And he doesn't have insurance. And he doesn't have this. And he doesn't have, this was way before we had all these wonderful, wonderful organizations like Rofei Cholam Cancer Society that help out with these things. That's one of the greatest organizations ever. And nobody should ever need it. We should need them to donate. We should give a lot of tzedakah to RCCS. It's their initials are. But we should never need their services. Shalom Aleichem. The greatest, I don't know if in this area, they're definitely unbelievable. And he says, I need $50,000 to save my son's life. I don't have $1. What do I do with it? The Rebbe says, what do you mean, what do you do? I'm going to arrange you the money. Now there were times in Tosh that Tosh was a wealthy Hasidut. Because people believed at a certain point that to give the Rebbe money was a sgulat to make money. There are a lot of stories like that of guys that donated big amounts there and became crazy rich right away. But at that point, it wasn't like that. It was at a point that they didn't pay salaries in the yeshiva and the kollel for months. Everything was falling apart. The Rebbe opened his drawers and whatever. All the money anybody gave him that day, he collected it all, counted it out, and he gave it to the guy. But it wasn't $50,000. It was far from it. Then he started asking people in the waiting room, anybody has money that they can give this guy? Still didn't get the $50,000. He called one of his rich Hasidim in the middle of the night, and he told him, I need a loan. So the Chassid said, sure, how much do you want? He asked the guy, how much are we up to? They told him a number. They were missing whatever number it is. He didn't tell me the number, so I don't want to make up stories. And he gave him a loan. And he took the money that he borrowed and gave it to this person. Ad Kan, amazing story, right? Mind-boggling? This is the smallest part of the story. Now listen to the story. A few days later, one of the Gabbaim walks into him. And he says, Rebbe, don't ask. He says, what? He said, we didn't know who this guy is. And we saw you going crazy to give him $50,000. So we figured you probably saw him in Chodesh or whatever. He's a holy man. So we wanted to get to know him. So we decided to do some due diligence on him. And we found out that he has a 9-year-old son. But he's not in America. He's in Israel. He's not sick. He's healthy. And the whole story was made up. And this guy's a scam artist who scammed you for $50,000. And we're upset. We want to go after him to get the money back. How would you feel if you just gave 50 grand that you didn't even have? You borrowed 50 grand to give somebody. And then you found out that the whole thing was one big hoax. Never happened. Why have a money back? I had a situation like that once in my life. I gave a very large sum of money to a person with a story of a kidney transplant, and there was no kidney and no transplant and no nothing. I was horrified. But then I said, Mishamayim, I didn't have the schut. So I wasn't upset at him. I was upset at myself. Why did Hashem cause me not to have the schut? That my money should go to the good tzedakah. It's not his problem. He was just a shliach. It was my problem. If I would have had the merit, it would have went to the right place. The Tasha Rebbe looks at the Gabbai and he says, "Come, let's dance." And he says, "Dance? I'm telling you, we're going after the guy." He says, "What are you talking about? We have to make a big simcha today." This is the, thank you for the news. He says, "What?" He says, "Baruch Hashem, there's one less sick kid in Am Yisrael. This is the happiest day of my life." He said, "But Rebbe, we don't have money to pay of it." He says, "By Hashem, 50,000, 100,000, 1 million, 2 million, it's all the same story. Hashem wanted him to have $50,000. It's a shame he got it in this way. If not, he would have got it in a kosher way. So I was a shliach to give him the money that Hashem wanted. Who cares the rest? His kid's not sick." He says, "You know how much it was hurting me for the past few days that a 9-year-old kid is dying of cancer? And now I know he's not dying of cancer. I can live again." Now you understand what it means to be a person that loves Am Yisrael? What a ben shel melech you have to be in order to be so fine-tuned to somebody else's feelings. What a ben shel melech somebody has to be to care enough about another Jew, to make a celebration that he was scammed of 50 grand. And 50 grand is years ago. So with inflation, we're talking about multiple, who knows how much money today. Because Baruch Hashem, there's a kid that's not sick that we thought may have been sick. Because Baruch Hu should help. Yehudim b'nei melachim, we should walk out here with our nose up high, not of gava, like Bali Bo b'darkei Hashem, Ashreinu shezachinu liot b'nam shemelachim. School Shanim Rabot, thank you very much.